All right, so today we're going to deep dive into CatCon 2025.
Okay.
Kind of get you ready if you're thinking about maybe attending or just interested in the whole world of catch wrestling.
Yeah.
We're working with their promotional materials, basically, just all the stuff they put out there about it.
Gotcha.
But even just looking at that stuff, it's pretty fascinating.
Interesting.
They bill it as like the king of sports, which catch wrestling is, but they also are pushing it as like super relevant to MMA and self-defense today. So
yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, so we're going to break down like what exactly is catch wrestling?
Right.
Why is this event kind of making waves? And oh yeah, get this. There's even a connection to Macebell Training in there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so
I'm intrigued.
yeah, it's pretty cool.
It is interesting how they're framing this whole king of sports idea.
Yeah.
Catch wrestling was, a dominant force in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, really emphasizing submission holds and ending fights decisively.
Yeah, from what I've read, it does sound like a pretty brutal and effective style.
Mm-hmm.
But how does that connect to like what we see in MMA today?
That's the key point. I think many of the techniques used in catch wrestling are still applicable today.
Interesting.
You can think of it as like a foundation for grappling with a focus on practical takedowns and submissions that can be adapted to lots of situations.
So would you say like a lot of the stuff that we see in MMA today is kind of derived from that, but maybe people don't
I think so.
realize it?
There's a through line there.
Interesting.
For sure. And that's where Jake Shannon comes in.
Right. He's the organizer of this whole thing.
He is.
Yeah. And like the driving force behind this catch wrestling revival, it seems like, from what I've gathered.
Yeah. He's a big proponent of catch wrestling.
So what's his take on all of this?
Well, he calls catch wrestling a lost art.
Huh.
And he's aiming through events like CatCon and his organization Scientific Wrestling to not just revive it, but refine it for the modern age.
So not just looking back, but taking it and evolving it.
Exactly, yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, he sees it as this valuable system for anyone interested in MMA self-defense or just becoming a more well-rounded grappler.
Cool. So CatCon 2025 sounds pretty ambitious.
It does.
3 days in Vegas, packed with training competition, even a Macebell certification course.
Wow.
I don't know. It's kind of head-scratcher for me. How does this all fit together?
It's an interesting mix, for sure.
Yeah.
But that seems to be the point. CatCon is designed to be this immersive experience.
Right.
And it seems like they're trying to cater to a lot of different experience levels, too.
Okay.
So you've got coaching clinics led by, some big names. Wade Schalles, Frank Shamrock, Pat Miletich.
Oh, yeah.
All legends in their own right.
Hold on. Let's pause there for a second.
Sure.
For people who aren't that familiar with grappling, why are those names such a big deal?
Oh, good point. Yeah, it's easy to just throw names out without, people understanding the significance.
Yeah.
So take Schalles, for instance. The man's known as a pinning machine,
Right.
legendary for his technique and ability to control opponents on the mat.
Huh.
And then you got Shamrock,
Right.
a pioneer in MMA, someone who really proved the effectiveness of catch wrestling in real-world settings.
Wow.
And then Miletich, well, his coaching pedigree speaks for itself. He's developed champions across multiple disciplines.
So these aren't just famous names. These are masters of their craft.
Exactly.
That alone has got to be a draw for people.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
To go to this.
Yeah.
You mentioned tournaments, too.
I did.
Tell me about those.
Okay, so there are two distinct tournaments happening at CatCon.
Okay.
There's the King of Catch for singles competition, and then Shoot Pro, which is a tag team format.
Okay.
Now, both of them have a $1,000 prize for the champion.
Oh, wow.
Which, adds a level of intensity, but the rules are really what sets them apart.
Okay, so what makes these tournaments unique?
Well, remember, catch wrestling emphasizes pins and submissions, so the rules reflect that. There's a wider range of allowable holds and a real focus on controlling your opponent and, finishing the fight decisively.
So not like the typical rule sets you see in other grappling tournaments.
Exactly. And then the Shoot Pro element adds another layer of intrigue.
I'm all ears. What's Shoot Pro?
So these tag team matches are going to be filmed for broadcast.
Oh, wow.
So it's not just about winning the tournament.
Okay.
It's about potentially getting wider exposure.
Oh, that's a smart move.
Yeah.
Combining competition and a bit of showmanship.
Exactly.
And then there's this whole Macebell thing.
Right.
I'm not sure how that fits in. To be honest, is this like a cross-training craze or is there a deeper connection here?
It's more connected than you might think.
Okay.
So Rick Brown, who's a leading expert in Macebell training, is running a certification course at CatCon.
Okay.
Now, Macebells might seem like an odd choice, but they're incredibly effective for developing the kind of functional strength that grapplers need.
So break it down for me. What's so special about Macebells compared to like other strength training?
Okay, well, think about the demands of catch wrestling.
Right.
Grip strength, rotational power, the endurance to maintain control, in a grueling match.
Yeah.
Macebells target all of those areas, and they do it in a way that mimics the dynamic movements that you'd use on the mat.
Interesting.
So it's not about bulking up. It's about building functional strength that translates directly to performance.
So it's more tailored to the demands of catch wrestling.
Exactly.
Very interesting. So who is CatCon really for?
That's a good question.
Is this just for like hardcore grapplers, or could somebody with less experience benefit from going to this?
That's one of the things that makes this event so interesting. They've really tried to create something that caters to a variety of experience levels. So beginners can get a solid foundation in catch wrestling, experienced. Grapplers can refine their technique and test themselves against top competition, and even coaches can come away with new insights and training methods.
It's like a buffet for grapplers.
Yeah.
There's something for everybody.
Pretty much.
But it's got to be more than just the technical aspects, right?
Oh, for sure.
What about the overall, experience?
Yeah, so, imagine being surrounded by people who are just as passionate about grappling as you are.
Yep.
You have the chance to learn from these legends.
Right.
And, maybe network and make connections that could last a lifetime. It's about more than just techniques. It's about becoming part of a community.
Like a pilgrimage for anybody who's serious about mastering this.
For sure.
We've covered a lot of ground here, but there's still so much to unpack.
Yeah.
We talked about the history of catch wrestling, the unique format of CatCon, this lineup of coaches, even this connection to Macebell Training.
Yeah.
But what does it all mean?
Yeah. Right.
Why should our listeners care? That's what we're going to explore next.
Awesome. I'm excited to dive in.
Let's do it.
It's fascinating how catch wrestling has kind of flown under the radar for so long.
Yeah.
It's this incredibly rich and influential style, but a lot of people only have a vague understanding of what it actually is.
Yeah, and I think that's part of what makes CatCon so intriguing. It's an opportunity to, shed light on this lost art, as Shannon calls it.
Right.
And to show how it's still relevant today.
Yeah, it's almost like uncovering this hidden gem.
Right.
We tend to think of MMA as this modern phenomenon. But catch wrestling was essentially the original mixed martial art. Blending techniques from various grappling styles and emphasizing practicality above all else.
So it wasn't bound by the strict rule sets that we see in some traditional grappling arts?
No, not at all.
It was about finding what works, regardless of where it comes from?
Exactly. You see elements of Greco-Roman wrestling, judo, even Irish collar and elbow fighting, all woven into the system that was designed to be adaptable and effective in real-world situations.
That's pretty amazing when you think about it.
Yeah.
So many of the techniques that we think of as modern in MMA actually have roots in this older, almost forgotten style.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point.
Yeah.
And that's why understanding catch wrestling can give you a deeper appreciation for the evolution of grappling as a whole. It's like you're looking at the source code, seeing where these techniques originated and how they've been adapted over time.
I like that analogy, the source code of grappling.
Yeah.
But for someone who's more familiar with, say, Brazilian jiu-jitsu or judo, how would you describe the key differences?
Okay.
Or maybe even the advantages of catch wrestling?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
One of the things that really distinguishes catch wrestling, I think, is its equal emphasis on both pins and submissions.
Okay.
A lot of grappling styles tend to prioritize one or the other.
Right.
But catch wrestling recognizes the importance of being well-rounded and being able to control your opponent in various ways.
So being dangerous from any position.
Exactly.
Whether you're on top or bottom or scrambling for control.
Yeah, you can't just specialize in one area.
You got to be adaptable.
You have to be adaptable. Exactly. Yeah. And that adaptability is a key principle in catch wrestling.
Okay.
It's not about memorizing a rigid set of techniques. It's about understanding the underlying principles of leverage, control, pressure.
Right.
And then being able to apply them creatively to any situation that you encounter.
So it sounds like it almost cultivates a problem-solving mindset.
Yeah.
On the mat.
Yeah.
You're forced to think on your feet and adjust your strategy as needed.
Exactly. And that's one of the things that makes it so relevant, I think, for self-defense as well.
Oh, interesting.
You know, in a real-world altercation, you can't predict what's going to happen.
Right.
So being able to adapt and react effectively is crucial.
Okay. So I'm starting to see how this all ties together. The history, the philosophy, the practical applications, it's all connected. But let's bring it back to CatCon for a minute.
Okay.
Let's say I'm a listener who's now like fascinated by catch wrestling.
Right.
And this whole event convinced me why I should seriously consider attending.
Right.
Give me your top 3 reasons.
Challenge accepted. All right. Reason number 1, the chance to train with living legends.
Okay.
We're talking about, you know, direct access to guys like Schalles, Shamrock, Miletich.
Right.
People who've not only mastered this art, but have proven its effectiveness at the highest levels of competition.
Yeah.
It's not just about watching them demonstrate techniques. It's about getting hands-on coaching and personalized feedback from some of the best in the business.
Okay. That's pretty compelling. What about reason number 2?
All right, number 2, the immersive experience.
Okay.
CatCon isn't just a seminar or tournament. It's like a 3-day deep dive into the world of catch wrestling.
Yeah.
You're training alongside other passionate individuals. You're testing your skills in competition. You're networking with people who share your interests. And you're constantly absorbing knowledge from morning till night. It's an opportunity to completely disconnect from your everyday life and step into this world where catch wrestling is the focus.
I can see how that would be pretty transformative.
Yeah.
All right. Hit me with reason number 3.
Okay, reason number 3. The potential for personal transformation.
Ooh.
CatCon has the power to change your game,
Okay.
your understanding of grappling, and even your mindset.
Right.
You're going to walk away with new skills, new connections, and a renewed passion for this art.
Yeah.
And who knows, you might even discover strengths and abilities that you never knew you had.
You've made a strong case.
Thanks.
But let's be realistic.
Okay.
Not everybody can just drop everything and fly to Vegas for a 3-day grappling extravaganza.
Right.
So for those who can't make it to CatCon, what are some ways that they can still kind of tap into the world of catch wrestling?
Well, the good news is that there are more resources available than ever before.
Okay.
Jake Shannon's Scientific Wrestling Organization has a wealth of information online, including instructional videos, articles, and even like a virtual academy where you can learn from some of the top catch wrestling coaches.
And I imagine there are local catch wrestling gyms popping up all over the place.
Absolutely. Catch wrestling is experiencing a resurgence.
Yeah.
So there's a good chance you can find a gym or club near you.
Right.
And even if you can't find a dedicated catch wrestling gym, a lot of MMA gyms are incorporating catch wrestling techniques into their training programs.
So even if you can't make it to CatCon,
Right.
you can still find ways to explore this world.
For sure.
But for those who are ready to fully immerse themselves and take their grappling to the next level, CatCon is the ultimate opportunity.
It's like a pilgrimage for anyone serious about this.
Well said. We've talked about the what, the why, and the how.
We have.
We've explored the history of catch wrestling, the unique format of CatCon, the benefits of attending, even the resources available for those who can't make it in person.
Right.
But before we wrap up, I want to circle back to something you mentioned earlier.
Okay.
This idea of adaptability.
Yeah.
Catch wrestling is all about being able to adjust to any situation, to find solutions when things get tough.
It's a valuable skill set that translates far beyond the mat.
Exactly. And that's what I find so fascinating about this whole conversation.
Yeah.
It's not just about learning how to grapple. It's about developing a mindset that can help you succeed in all areas of life. It makes you wonder how much of that catch wrestling mindset like spills over into other areas of life.
Yeah.
For the people who train in it, you know, do they approach challenges differently?
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
You know, think about it. Catch wrestling forces you to think strategically, anticipate your opponent's moves, and adapt your approach based on, you know, the ever-changing dynamics of a match.
Right.
And those are valuable skills that can be applied to any situation where you're facing resistance or trying to achieve a goal.
So it's not just physical strength and technique. It's mental agility and resilience as well.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm starting to see how this deep dive into CatCon has become about so much more than just a grappling event.
Right.
You know, it sparked a conversation about the broader applications of this, like, lost art, as we keep calling it.
Yeah.
And the lessons it can teach us about resilience, adaptability, and the pursuit of mastery.
And that's the power of exploring these topics, right?
Yeah.
We start with a specific event or idea, and it leads us down these unexpected paths,
Totally.
uncovering connections and insights that we might have otherwise missed.
So as we wrap up our exploration of CatCon and the world of catch wrestling,
Okay.
I want to leave our listeners with this thought.
Right.
Imagine stepping onto the mat, not just as a grappler,
Mm-hmm.
but as someone who embodies those principles of adaptability, resilience,
Right.
and continuous learning that we've been talking about.
Yeah.
What would that look like for you?
What challenges would you approach differently? What strengths would you discover within yourself?
Because the lessons that we learn on the mat,
Yeah.
those lessons of grit, determination, and strategic thinking,
Mm-hmm.
they have the potential to transform far more than just our grappling skills.
It's about embracing the challenge,
Yeah.
finding opportunity within the struggle, and always striving to improve and evolve,
Yeah.
both on and off the mat.
Well said. And who knows, maybe exploring the world of catch wrestling, whether it's through an event like CatCon or simply by researching and learning more about it,
Right.
could be the catalyst that unlocks a whole new level of potential within you.
That's a great point.
The possibilities are endless.
That's a great note to end on.
Indeed. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into CatCon and the world of catch wrestling.
It was my pleasure.
Keep exploring, keep learning, and keep pushing your boundaries.
Until next time.